Hello everybody, Kendra here. Welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to do kind of an unboxing and review of the loops and thread yarn winder. Now, I've never had a yarn winder before. I've always just made balls by hand, and part of that is just because all the kind of cheaper or lower end yarn winders all kind of have poor reviews, whether it be this one from Michaels or some of the ones on Amazon. It seems like a lot of people have said you just need to hold out and get, like, I think it's a Stanford that's more expensive, but I'm not really in a place where I want to spend a lot of money on something like this. However, I have been using a lot of loops and thread Michaels yarn, and also hand-dyed yarn that comes in a large skein and you need to ball up before you can use it. But I've been working on a sweater with this yarn right here, and I've already made 2 balls for it, and I feel like because there's a lot of yardage in each ball, I'm spending hours winding, and it's just taking away from the knitting. So that's kind of what drove me to actually picking one up after debating for so long. So I picked it up from Michaels. In regular price, the yarn winder is going for $41.99, and that's at my local store. I think that varies depending on, like, that's in Canadian dollars. And I used a 40% off coupon, and so it came to $25.19. So I haven't even opened it up. I hope you'll come along with me and kind of see how it works and how hard it is to figure out, and hopefully it leads us to making up some nice yarn cakes right away. Let's jump in. It seems really small, a lot smaller than I was kind of expecting, but we'll see how it goes here. I'm going to try clamping it to the table. Alright, so it attached to the table fairly securely and easily, and it feels like it's not going anywhere. So I'm going to I'll start with just a little ball. I just thought I'd see how it goes. I'll also mention I don't expect to have to wind up every single ball, especially with commercial yarn like this. However, with this really fine acrylic yarn, I feel like every single ball I have not wound up has gotten really tangled, and I've ended up just getting frustrated and kind of cutting off and throwing away a portion of it. And I've used this wool like in the fingering weight several times now, and it just seems to go a lot easier when I ball it up. I'm going to go ahead with the notch. Okay, seems to be moving pretty easily. I don't have a ton of yarn here on this little one. I also noticed on some of the other reviews that a lot of people recommended using a empty toilet paper roll to wind it up or put it in the center. So that's just kind of a tip if this is your first look at it, but I haven't tried it, and I mean, so far it seems to be doing a decent job. It's not getting caught or anything. Okay, I've gotten to the end. We'll see how well it slides off. Okay. So I guess I just hope with this that it wouldn't get really tangled as it kind of rests on itself, but maybe that's just the way it's supposed to be. Okay, well, that's trial number 1. Looks like it'd be pretty easy. There's the center pull part and the side. I'm going to go ahead and try out what I really purchased it with the intention of, and just to see, especially like this is its own product. These are just Michaels brand, Michaels stuff, with the loops and thread. Let's see how it works to put it together. it seems to be winding up very smoothly. It's really slowed down only by how quickly my ball will kind of unroll, not by, it's not getting caught or tangled or anything. I am kind of hanging onto the yarn just to help feed it in from the ball, but yeah, so far it seems to be going together pretty well. So it's getting pretty big. I'm nearing the end and I still ended up with a huge tangle. So I'm working on that. But so far this cake looks really nice, I think, and I hope it comes off easily. It definitely, like as the ball was kind of flopping around, started to get tangled. So I'm not sure the best way to avoid that. I'm gonna have to kind of experiment with it a little and see what happens. But yeah, I'm gonna work on this tangle and try to get the rest of it onto my yarn cake. Alright, so I just ended up giving up on this little ball, which is definitely disappointing considering one of the benefits of winding it I was hoping was that I wouldn't have to deal with all the tangle. I'm going to hang on to this just in case I need some little odds and ends in my project, but for now I'm just admitting defeat. I don't really want to spend an hour trying to untangle. But this part here looks like it's all come together, so I was just going to unhook my beginning here. Hope it slides off.
Mommy?
So yeah, I could see how adding in that paper towel tube would help it from collapsing on itself, but I'm hoping that, I mean, most yarn cakes look fairly similar, and I'm really hoping that these, I'm really hoping the center doesn't get tangled, but I'll have to report back on how it actually functions. So when it was on here, I heard that part of the limit is that there's not a lot of room between the part that turns and the base. However, for this cake, it is 678 yards, so it is not insignificant amount. However, I could see if you had a really large amount of wool that you're trying to wind up, or a heavier weight, how that could be a limitation. But this is kind of the size and amount of yarn I would typically be winding, so as long as it functions well, I think we're kind of in the clear for this. Alright, so this is going to be my next test. You can see this ball, it's actually in the process of being knitted, but it is totally falling apart. So I'm going to try to really carefully keep it in sections the way it kind of has sprawled out, and see if I can get it wound up to be a little more functional. Alright, so things started to wind kind of weirdly here, so I think I'm going to try to undo it a little bit. I think just as it's got bigger here, and it is almost touching the bottom, this last section got a little strange. So I'm going to try undoing it and seeing if maybe just that last little bit we can come up with something a bit better.
I'm trying to like Julie in.
Julie? Julian? Yeah. Do you know anyone named Julian?
Nope, it's just somebody else.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, a stamp.
And her friend's coming over today. Flower.
Flower?
Your dad.
Uh-oh. Okay, I think the issue is that this is sliding off the edge. So I'm going to try to keep it on and just wind up that last little bit. It's just spilling out, and so then it's making more room on this side here.
I don't know. I think so.
Alright, this one's definitely a little bit messier. So we'll have to see if it pulls out in chunks kind of like the ball did, but hopefully it will be easier to knit from than the previous setup. Alright, so that is kind of my initial look and impressions of the Loops and Thread yarn winder. I really hope that this kind of peek at it has been helpful to you. I'll have to kind of do a check back once I've used it a lot more and got through those initial cakes I made to see how it kind of holds up. But I wanted to share this just because I know I was really kind of nervous about jumping in based off of some of the reviews that were pretty negative. But so far it seems to be fine. The tension is fine and it holds the amount of yarn I was kind of hoping it would. that may or may not be what you personally are looking for in a yarn winder. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.